I'm from the capital. Everyone's envy of the old lady. A lifetime of filial piety. Marital harmony. Die in good time. I didn't know that until I died. My whole life is a joke. The gentle husband of his whole life. He was screaming at me. If I hadn't forced myself to marry him, his sweetheart won't marry someone else and be wasted to death. Even let a son and daughter after his death. Moving his beloved to his ancestral grave. Be buried with him. I felt ridiculous floating in front of the shrine. If I hadn't paid for it, how did the son of a concubine rise to prominence? The official obeys the prime minister. After the rebirth, I return to the day of marriage. In this life, I do what he wants. When his family came to ask, I said I had only a nodding acquaintance with him. He loves tofu in the west of the city. As soon as the words came out, the antechamber, which had been so comfy, fell silent. Not a word just now. Liang Wenci sitting next to Mrs. Liang. I'm standing up now. Subconsciously contradicting me, like what are you talking about? In previous lives, it was a good time like today. Mrs. Liang brought Liang Wenci and the matchmaker to visit for a kiss. Mother let the maid Moonlight take me hiding behind the screen to look at each other. I heard the matchmaker say we're a match. If it was made in heaven. Secretly blushed with shame. I was already in his design. I thought I was in love with him. So tap the screen 3 times. Let my mother know my heart. Then my father came back to the house and found out. Liang Wenci was also brought in specifically. The two had a long talk in the study. What did he say to my dad? I finally got my father to agree to the marriage. The two families quickly reconciled after that. Set a wedding date. 10 Li red makeup. Make me a Liang wife. In the next 50 years. I always thought I was the luckiest woman in the world. A husband makes progress. The official obeys the prime minister. A pair of filial children. Harmony between husband and wife. There was no concubine room in the house, until one day I suddenly collapsed during a family dinner. I can feel it coming. Liang Wenci is also old. Tears ran down one's face. Call me over and over again from my bed is true. If you really walk slowly. Wait for me, I smiled. I raised my hand to wipe his tears. I wanted to tell him I was dying. Tell him not to cry. But I can't make a sound. On one's deathbed. I tried to keep my eyes open. I want to see the face of the person next to me. I want to tell him that my life is a success. Now life and death do not regret. But I still couldn't say it. The doctor shook his head as his relatives watched. My consciousness is fading. I could only hear the cries of my loved ones. Then the crying disappeared. I heard some noises going in and out. Soon I heard Liang Wenci's old voice again. And the hatred he's been hiding in his heart for 50 years. I hate my father for using his career. Make him promise to be a couple for life, so he can't welcome her through the door. I hate my dowry. Let the Liang family live by my eyes. Such a large Liang family. There is no one who can let him speak his mind. What I hate most is that I live too long. 50 years in the wife's place to enjoy the glory and wealth. His sweetheart married someone else by mistake. He was wrapped up in straw after his death. Leave it to the wild dogs in the countryside. After all these years. I finally made it to the day. You will die before me. It's just a shame my happy mother never got to see this day. You took me away from my happy mother. Your father doesn't want other women in my backyard. But you have Gao life and reward because of the Liang family. It was supposed to belong to Huan Yang. My future is bright without you. Because of you. Talent is at the mercy of others. The loss of a loved one. Lin Ruzhen, this is all your fault. It's good to be dead. When I scatter your ashes. You go on like this. Make amends to the happy mother. My soul has been following Liang Wenci since my death. I heard him pretend to cry. It's a logical encroachment on the money store I left behind. Then his true form was revealed. Not only will my tablet be denied entry to the Liang clan temple. They even found someone to move a wild cemetery in the suburbs into the ancestral grave. He wrote his wife's name in the family tree. He told my sons and daughters. When he dies, he will be buried with his mother. That's when I realized. Liang Wenci hid my ashes. Won't let me be buried. To threaten my children at this time. I saw the humiliation of my children. I was overwhelmed with hatred. The dark night wind knocked over the candlesticks. I looked at Liang Wenci, struggling in the fire. I feel very happy in my heart. At this moment, I heard several shouts near and far in my ears. I turn around subconsciously. My eyes suddenly turned backward. In the blink of an eye, I was no longer in the fire. I was standing at Liang's house asking for her. Behind the screen of the day. Too late to think. The matchmaker in the hall has said much. Just waiting for my mother to speak. His hands trembled uncontrollably under his long sleeves. Nails sink into palms. I forced myself to calm down. Since we have to do it again. I want to see it without me. Liang Wenci was the concubine of a Shangshuqing family. What a bright future there is. I walked out from behind the screen. Put up a good old family girl. Bow down to the crowd in a dignified manner. Then I looked at Liang Wenci, who looked pale. Dao, Liang Tu-sun, careful words. You and I don't know each other well enough to call me by my first name. Besides, am I wrong? Qingshi tofu, Shishir zhou huan. But with the jade plate of Liang Fu everywhere and people show off. With Shangshu Qing family of the son of love. To marry into a big family and be a young lady. I glanced at the side door. The moon is gone. I'm sure it won't be long. Happy event between Prince Liang and Tofu Shishir. It's about to go viral. I didn't know that until I was dead. Liang Wenci coaxed Zhou Huan. Let him willingly wait to marry into the Liang family. And then for my father's future. Gave up Zhou Huan. Zhou Huan had to marry someone else. It was his own greed. And you end up blaming it all on me. If I die, I'll end up dead. That's who I am. Let it all hang out in the open. Let's see who we hate the most. I looked at Mrs. Liang. Congratulations with a smile. I guess Mrs. Liang doesn't know about this happy event. I heard that Zhou Huanqing's face is like hibiscus. Be like a willow. Congratulations to Mrs. Liang on having a good daughter-in-law. Liang Wenci stared at me with a livid face. To speak is to accuse, if true. You're a pretty girl. Since when do you have the tongue of a city woman? And bring it to the hall. You clearly with me. Mother's hands of the group fan fell. A sound interrupted Liang Wenci. Liang was aware of his slip of the tongue. Shut up. But the blame is still on me. I didn't feel anything. Mrs. Liang is like waking up from a dream. Smile quickly to smooth things over. It's true. I didn't know that was happening. She glanced at Liang Wenci. Eyes full of schadenfreude. Vince's aunt. I guess I only heard about it. Miss Lin is the most beautiful girl in Beijing. This identified Miss Lin. I had to ask for a baby. Disturbed the lady. I'm sorry, miss. Mrs. Liang said she was sorry. The joy on his face was not concealed. He was worried if Liang Wenci really succeeded. Son-in-law of the left prime minister. It's a threat to his son's future. I didn't think it was just a slap on his face. He also revealed that he shared his feelings with others. That's great. Forget about the left prime minister. No other girl will want to marry him. Mrs. Liang said everything she said. This is between Liang Wenci and his birth mother. Liang Wenci's face became worse. He saluted my silent mother. Then he pulled the sachet off his waist. Hold it up in front of you and say I don't know any Zhou Huan. The friendship with Miss Lin. And we have the sachet to prove it. Also ask your ladyship to see clearly. My mother glanced at the perfume sachet that clearly came out of my hand. Asked what you did. I nodded. Then he had a look of shame and indignation. That I did make the sachet. But this was the banquet at the palace last month. You traded it for a folding fan. Now they're trying to smear my innocence. I should have known you meant that. I'd rather give it to someone else than you. He also told someone to take a folding fan from the room and pull it on the floor. Just like a little girl's home. Bite oneself to death. I don't know what he meant. These parties in Beijing. It's all the rage to set a prize for a contest. More than anything. It happened to be at the banquet last month. I made a sachet, but I really like the finished one. I thought of Liang Wenci again. So he hurried to do a general. Secretly gave the best one to Liang Wenci. Boys despise poetry and literature. Liang Wenxi picked up the word and won the prize. It's a folding fan. It was given to me. And she said it was for me. Now I look at it and I just think it's bullshit. What a waste to my sachet. Liang Wenxi was so angry that he called me nonsense. Mother immediately cut the fan. Turn to me and say you. Usually you let you be careful of words and actions. You'll take anything you want. It's only a matter of time before that ungrateful thing sticks. Then he turned to look at the Liang family and said, I am really sorry. The little girl is in the boudoir. His father and brother and I have spoiled him for nothing. I can't even remember such an important ritual. Ping Bai let Liang Tu child-born misunderstanding. When his lordship returns, we're gonna make sure she gets punished. As for the rest, Mrs. Liang understood. Despite Liang Wenxi's face, he answered with a smile. He took the people and left. As they walked out of the house, I picked up the folding fan on the ground and chased it out. People come and go in front of the house. I looked at Liang Wenxi with a happy face. Hit him right in the face with a folding fan. A broken fan wants me to marry you. You don't think about who you are. My voice is loud enough. The people on the road were quiet for a moment and then began to talk. My mother could not bear to laugh and asked the house doctor to visit. Before closing the gate, I closed the door and ran into my mother's arms. My mother gave me away in a previous life. He tripled the dowry he brought from his mother's house. He traded his own property. Give me half of it. The mother of a lifetime of propriety. I cried in my father's arms. The next 6 years, I gave birth to 4 children by Liang Wenxi. Per production, the mother made Liang promise that this would be the last one. Until the birth of the 4th child. I almost didn't make it. When I was unconscious, the mother handed the sign to the palace. In the queen mother to seek a cure for the cure, holding the sword and watching Liang Wenxi finish his drink. Later, my mother went to the temple for penance. Pray for me. Until I woke up 8 months later. When she came to see me, his temples were gray. After I died in my previous life, Liang Wenxi told me about my ashes. He said he and his wife had talked about having 8 children. But Huan Yang is dead. I deserve to live in the next life. I can't believe that bitch won't even let you have more children. Carrying on the family is what you're supposed to do. I can't even take the pain. What a useless thing. No more than a mother. Father resigned and returned home. My mother wrote me many letters. I said many times that I wanted to go to Lingnan to see my mother. Liang Wenxi said to me, she is now the mistress of the Liang family. The Liang family can't live without me, until my son gets married. When a daughter-in-law can be alone. My mother died many years ago. And the last time I saw my mother, it was in her carriage leaving Beijing. She had white hair and red, puffy eyes. Sigh after the mother is gone. What about my real son? Now start all over again. There was no white hair on my mother's temples. Embrace is still as warm as ever. She hugged me softly. The palm of my hand gently slapped my shoulder and back. There are still tears in my shirt. He said the same thing he said in his previous life. So big. Still crying in my mother's arms. After the mother is not here. What about my real son? I was gonna say mom wasn't here. The daughter also learned to take charge of the feeders. I began to worry about my children. I remember my mother's face and teachings. And she's a pretty good mother, but I want to talk about the hard work along the way. My mother's family is not in Beijing. A lot of hard work. Said that I helped my husband to fight for the position of head of the Liang family. Only to find out on his deathbed that he met a bad person. There is no peace after death. Mother, I've been lied to my whole life. You die expecting another life. Word of what happened in front of the left prime minister's house quickly spread. The whole city knows it. The second son of Liang with a folding fan. He asked to marry the wife of the left prime minister. I got kicked out. Then someone else said. The second prince of Liang and the tofu shisher in the west of the city. I gave away all my jade cards. And now you're licking your face. It's a home-cooked dish. You have to take the delicacies, too. When the Liang family returned, they closed the door. They don't even hang the lantern in front of the door at night. The house was as quiet as anyone. Word came from the guard sent. Liang Wenxi changed the boys' clothes in the night. Out of the dog hole, to find Zhou Huan. Zhou Huan swore that she had never told anyone about her relationship with him. But too. It has a nose and an eye. And Zhou Huan does have a Liangfu jade card. She hangs out on her belt all day. In the past, others did not know. Now it's being publicized by my people. In no time, will the whole city know what the jade plate of Liangfu looks like. Liang Wenxi lost a great deal of temper. He didn't believe Zhou Huan at all. The two quarreled first. And then they started arguing and they started rolling together. Pity my servant Breeze, listening half the corner. Results day 2. Wind before foot report finished. The footman passed Liang Wenxi's sour letter to me. Asked me to give him time to find out who spread the rumor. He's gonna ask me for nothing. The moon just finished reading. The wind laughed. She and Moon have been with me since childhood. Stick with me. Always saying things I couldn't easily say as a woman. When the girl from Willow Lane coaxed the guests. I can't even say it. The second son of Liang is rather thick-skinned. I let the moon burn the letter and the things Liang Wenxi had sent before. Then tell the breeze. Put the people who spread the word. Send him to the farm outside town for a while. Don't come back until I say so. Those days Liang Wenxi check rumor clues cannot find. I'm afraid to look for it too often. One's lips bubble with worry. Lethargy. I know what he's worried about, you know. But in this life. Without my help. I'd like to see what he's up to. Liang Wenyue, eldest son of the legitimate Liang family. Came in 2 years ago as second in the final exam. Held in high esteem. Just out of the Imperial Academy. He was taken down to Jiangnan by my father for tax inspection. He is just afraid of Liang Wenyue with work back. Let him stay with his aunt at Liang's house. More and more sad. So Liang took every step of the way. I just want to ride the high street. Fly away from the walls of Liangfu. He has a good skin. A year old. Time to observe me, and spent 6 months of time, running a half-assed reputation among fellow students. Finally, it made sense to approach me. He did what he wanted for me. He led me into a trap every step of the way. Too bad I got a kick in the door. I jumped out of his planned path. Caught him off guard. I thought the salt tax was closed. Now my father is also on his way back to Beijing. Liang Wenyue helped my father a lot in Jiangnan. I decided to give him a big gift. Let him successfully inherit the Liang family. The west of the city is very busy recently. Being heard she first tangled with the second son of Liang. Now he is attracted to the rich businessman Lu Yui. To be a concubine in the door. Zhou Huan dare not refuse too cruel. After all, where she lives and where she sells her stall. It's all leased by Lu Yui. She could only write to Liang Wenxi bitterly. Beg him for help. However, the prince did not even look at it at first because he was too busy researching rumors. It was his aunt's idea. Let him go and get the jade card back. A few days ago, I let the moon in the alley opposite Zhou Huan's house. Prepare a carriage. Just waiting for today's play. Look at the boy dressed Liang Wenxi. Zhou Huan rushed into the room. The breeze went to listen to the corner for another quarter of an hour. Came back with a smile on his face. As you expected. Zhou Huan did use an aphrodisiac. The two didn't fight long before they rolled together. Right now they're hugging and talking. Miss, do it? I shook my head and said. What's the rush? Wait for them to get naked. In the heat of the moment. This is the best play. In half an hour. Out of the water with a bang. Cut through the silent night sky of the western city. The clapper of the watch woke up the neighbors. The men of the family came out to help put out the fire. Someone realized it was Zhou Huan's house. Single men are working harder. The fire is a little lighter. I just saw 2 guys come out wrapped in sake blankets. For a moment, the people who were still helping to put out the fire stopped their actions. Shocked to look at the dusty and naked 2 people. Then Zhou Huan's scream rang out. There was the sound of hooves in the distance. It was the Liang family who found a young master missing at home in the middle of the night. The carriage was hidden in the darkness. I leaned on my chin and said with a smile, "Now, everyone is here. The stage is set up. Just what happens in the climax?" Eyes fell on Mrs. Leong, who had just stepped out of the carriage. When she saw the two people on the ground in shock. "The first thing you show is concern. Go up there and check for injuries." Leong Wensi firmly clutched the quilt. I didn't embarrass myself anymore. Lord Leong looked at everything in front of him with surprise and anger. Jumping out of the carriage, he quickly stepped forward and kicked Leong Wensi. Leong Wensi was caught off guard by the kick. Zhou Huan wrapped in a quilt. I was forced to roll with him. It's even more disgusting. The neighborhood was abuzz. The lecherous man stretched out his head, trying to peek through the cracks in the covers. Lord Leong could not hold his face. Pointing to the two of you, you're. I could not speak for a long time. At last, he told the boy to put them into the car. Instead, he and Mrs. Leong sat outside with the groom. The Leong family left with great strength and vigor. We'll be ready for the fire. The wind drove the carriage back to the Prime Minister's house. That night the breeze went and destroyed the wagon. When the moon waved for me to sleep, I asked me to miss. I'm happier. I looked at the bright and beautiful face. Think of the past life. She accompanied me into the Leong family of the 10th year. I returned her adventure, trying to find a good match for her. But she insisted on staying with me. For 50 years. She was the first one to remind me after I died. Leong Wensi has problems with people. It was also when I learned that Leong Wensi did not want to be buried with me. The only one. Someone who insisted on taking me back to the Lin family grave. But Leong Wensi lost my shackles at that time. Hold all the power in one's hands. Just get your hands dirty. Let the moon die without any reason. The bodies were dumped in mass graves. Unclaimed. And the wind was favored by my brother years ago. Going to camp. By the time I died, he was a German general. Guarding the border with my brother. Never returned to Beijing. Happy I counted the moon camp. Whispered that you were there. I'll always be happy. The moon smiled and bent her eyebrows. Took my hand back into the covers. The moon will always be by Mrs. side. The lady has to be happy all the time. Can't wait for the morning. When Dofu Shishir and Leong Erzong had a private meeting late at night. The news that the candles had been knocked down and the house set on fire spread like wildfire. The appearance of the two people being carried away by the Leong family is drawn into the picture book. For public viewing. Word official overnight broke the folding up. Lord Leong was taken into one this morning. Inadequate discipline. 3 months salary and half a month suspension. Those days. The Leong family even invited a doctor to enter through the side door. The door is closed. The lanterns on the outside wall again. Less than half a month. The group investigating the salt tax is back. The only people they brought back were corrupt officials, and the gold and silver to be poured into the treasury. When the treasury is full, the dragon yen is happy. The wind says Lord Leong's grounding is over. The Leong family door opened again. Greeted the legitimate son in joy. One step ahead of my father home is the flow of rewards. Set the accompanying guard. That's what my dad was looking at on the way home. All the things my mother and I like. The Lord asked my father what reward. My dad said it like an endorsement. Soon my father arrived home in a hurry. The first thing you say is ask your wife if it's true. A gift may suit the heart. His mother reproached him for his recklessness. Still picking and choosing between the gifts of God. My father smiled and grabbed my mother's shoulder. One side towards the front hall. Talking about the opportunity. Madam doesn't know that. An old man's closet is like a treasure. Come on, Dad tells you about this trip to the south. I looked at my father I hadn't seen in decades. Hold back the tears in your heart. He followed quickly. At night, my father called me into the study. He was on his way home from the palace. I listened to the old servant talk about what happened in Beijing. Naturally, I also knew about Leong Wensi and Zhou Huan. He said a letter before me. It was given to me by the eldest son of the lawful family of Leong. He helped a lot in Jiangnan. I can see a man who can handle things. I was gonna let you get in touch with him before I got back. But look at the state of his family. I'm not sure about being a father. If true, what do you think? I looked at the letter in front of me. The writing on the envelope. It says Lin. Past life Liang Wenyue regardless of the house. I don't go home much because of business. So I didn't cross paths that much. Liang Wenzi was prosperous in government at that time. Liang Wenyue, as a legitimate son, seems to be born in opposition to Liang Wenzi. Finally, Yan Guan, who wanted to curry favor with Liang Wenzi, participated in a book sent to Jinyang as a county magistrate for a lifetime. Mrs. Liang never recovered from it. The stewardship falls to me. Master Liang demonstration. Liang home to take charge also naturally became Liang Wenzi. Now start over. Liang Wenzi has no help for me. I lost the capital to share a room with Mrs. Liang. I also counted as Liang Wenyue's future wife, cooking obstacles. But I need to go back to Liang's. I don't like it either. I sat next to my father. Chin on one hand. Hold the envelope in one hand over the candle flame. He complained. Dad knows the Liang family is not peaceful. I want my daughter to take a chance. Maybe I'm a nuisance at home. Father took the lit letter. Throw it into the copper pot prepared by the boy. We watched in silence as the letter burned. He just spoke. If you want, you just marry. Daddy will pave the way for you. If I really will not suffer a little. Tears welled up instantly. Before I got married in a previous life, Father took me, dug up the 3 altars of women's red buried in the yard. Into my dowry. Say the same words as now. You don't worry about getting married. Daddy paved the way for you. If I really will not suffer a little. Before leaving the study, I asked Daddy if I was wrong. What if I suffer? Daddy smiled and said, what's suffering? It's just the last of his opponent's sweeteners. Half a month later, Liang Wenzi and Zhou Huo engaged. Liang Wenyue personally came to my house to send the invitation. He was much younger than I remembered. It is also born in the order of saber-brown stars, handsome and extraordinary. Miss Lin didn't want to see me, because of the second brother, he was sure. I don't know what to say. And then he almost made me tear up the invitation. I would have killed him if I had known, so I wouldn't have missed my marriage. The law of great Qi. The scepter is 30. I answered unconsciously. Lord Liang is an honest official. Don't do anything stupid. He looked at me. Don't seem to understand why I react this way. He lied to you. I thought you wanted him dead, too, I said, rather than a quick death. I prefer to see him run out of tricks and end up with nothing. The last breath of life. Liang Wenyue was silent for a long time. He nodded. Say I get it. Then turn away. I don't know how much he understands. But not for long. I just heard. Liang Wenzi and Zhou Huan's marriage changed. The doctor found out that Zhou Huan's body loss is serious. Suspected she'd lost a child in the past. Finally, Liang home a clear check secret visit. Also really found 2 years ago, had given Zhou Huan catch pregnancy medicine plaque. The second brother said he did not know Zhou Huan 2 years ago. The baby can't be his. Zhou Huan is no longer a virgin. The first time they had sex, Zhou Huan specially picked the day of blood water. Really do not pay attention to. No wonder 2 years of body or loss. I casually picked up a sentence. Then he looked again and followed me. Calm and relaxed, Liang Wenyue. You're not exactly dating after that. A private matter in a brother's room. To one of my unmarried women in the street. I'm not afraid to call you indecent. Liang Wenyue pursed his mouth. Change the subject like you don't care. You're right. Watching him suffer is more fun than killing him. Liang Wenzi handed me many poems. I saved it for a while, before I had someone return it together. Liang Wenyue didn't know where to hear. Took this job off the boy. Found a box to start around in. If anyone asks, say my brother always brings things to Miss Lin. The vexed lady could not bear to understand. Let me take it back and handle it myself. Dad told me the next day when he came home. Lord Liang was also involved in the book. Said Liang Wenzi conduct is bad. Engaged to be married. And hook up with an unmarried girl. Lord Liang went down and left angrily. Probably went back to teach Liang Wenzi a lesson. Sure enough. The Liang family remained closed for several days. Then I heard the news that Liang Wenxi's wedding date was advanced. It was straight from June. Advanced to this year after the autumn examination. Liang Wenxi's evil heart never dies. Before the autumn way, he suddenly handed me a letter. Say to wait for the autumn examination. If I can win, if I can. Let's start over. I didn't reply. Simply took the breeze moonlight to Linging Temple cheating hair. Externally, it was a blessing for my brother, who was in peace at the border. It's none of my business what other people think of it, you know. I had been living until the day before the autumn changes were released to the Lin family, and the master told Dad that the border pass was won. Brother is already on his way home. The winners will be announced tomorrow, along with a list of the autumn championships. If it is possible to join the club. I responded nicely. When I looked my dad in the eye, the word fire is clearly written in the eyes of both men. The second day of the list. I took the moon to the Emperor Bang watch. Out of the wagon. Then I heard someone shouting. Mr. Liang is the first person to take the test this year. There was much talk. Congratulate Liang Wenxi and Zhou Huan. Liang Wenxi's reputation in Beijing has been stinking for so long. Well, that's a good day to be proud of. Zhou Huan did not have the joy of being about to become the first lady. Just holding a veil and trying to smile. Look around. As I got closer. That's when they both found me. Liang Wenxi's face overflowed with joy. Other people around him found me, too. Naturally gave us a way out. Liang Wenxi lifted his foot and took a step in my direction. What do you seem to think of? In the end, I stood still. Seems to be waiting for me to offer my congratulations. I heard the moon hum cold beside me. The wind has pushed its way to the Emperor's list. I just put my foot up to go. Zhou Hua is one step ahead of me. Get down on your knees right at my feet, Miss Lin. I beg you to give me your hand. Give the concubine a way to live. Everyone present was confused by the kneeling. No one even thought to help her up. Miss Lin, you are the body of a daughter. But the concubine is also a good girl. Everyone in Beijing knows about my relationship with Silent. Why do you have to argue with me? There are more and more people around. Everyone whispered to each other. Liang Wenxi walked up quickly, while reaching out to pull Zhou Huan. Berating you for what are you doing? Make a fool of oneself. Don't go back. Zhou Huan is as slippery as ooze. It looks weak and boneless. But how can you pull it away? I looked at the pear flower with rain. Knowing why, you said that I showed up here today to fight you for the second son, can have proof. Look at Zhou Hua. He took the letter out of his arms. Raise up. Yang said I have a letter for you from Silent. In black and white. It says to start over with you. Miss Lin. Can you tell me you didn't have that in mind today? Dare you? I lifted my chin. Smile brightly. You said it. The letter was written to me by Liang Wenxi. Not a word back from the lady. Let people back to Liang House intact. I didn't expect you to cut it. My mouth is empty and my teeth are white. Miss Zhou, you've been begging for my life. But I see you for the first time. It has nothing to do with your Silent. There is no way to live. Liang Wenxi looked at me in disbelief. Zhou Huan was also choked by my words. It took a long time to mumble so majestically. But you're still here. I give a look to the breeze waiting in the distance. He gets it right away. Shout, Miss, good news. A great victory at the border. Young master will return to the capital soon. Most people in Beijing. All have heard of the lawful daughter of the Lin family. The blessing for my brother. I think I just heard the wind and I'm here to make sure. It's not like what Zhou Huan says. For a time everyone looked at Liang Wenxi and Zhou Huan's eyes. Bring all the weirdos. I returned my eyes to their colorful faces. Speak slowly. The prince, however, was engaged to be married. In the past, you had to exercise more restraint in your words and actions. The matter reached the court. The two Liang lords are still affected. Miss Zhou was born poor. But she's also a good daughter. Now that you've taken away his innocence, of course you have to give him an answer. After all those years of reading the sages, I put a lot of pressure on the word innocent. The faces of the people present vary. There are words and taunts landed on both faces. It's very soothing to see people. Liang Wenzi, who has just raised her eyebrows. And now I'm humiliated. Hard to throw off Zhou Huan, pointing to me for a long time without you, out of why. Can only sweep away. Zhou Huan quickly got up and ran after him. He was kicked down when he caught up with the wagon. Can only be embarrassed to run behind. I returned home after receiving compliments from the crowd at a distance. Listen to the footman as soon as you get to the door. Said Liang Wenyue was waiting for me in the garden. Liang Wenyue should be just under the morning will come over. He was still wearing scarlet robes. The first thing you said to me. I thought you were serious about starting over with him. There was a tone of grievous accusation. I don't know why. Neither understand. Why did he think I would forgive Liang Wenzi? Do not understand why he wronged. I don't want to be accused of nothing. So I said how I felt. Liang Wenyue was stunned when he heard it. I thought you already knew I wasn't like my brother. He muttered to himself. I nodded. Frankly speaking, Lord Liang and Sun Liang are really different. Not by birth, not by appearance, not by intellect. Lord Liang is above him. In time, will be a pillar of the country. You're interested in me. One is because my family can help you rise to the top. Second, I hate Liang Wenzi as much as you do. But that doesn't mean I like you. And as far as I know, there are 2 people in Master Liang's room. Also under the arrangement of Mrs. Liang. I've seen some of the best girls. I'm not your only option. Isn't it? Liang Wenyue was speechless. After a while he answered, if you say yes, I'll have my mother post about other families. I'll beat him out of here as soon as I can. It won't hurt your eyes. I shake my head. Look up at him. I don't ask people to swear. I'll be with you forever. After all, vows are mostly tongue-in-cheek. Just over the mouth. Will not enter the heart. I'm just saying this to tell you. I don't like men like you. And you don't have any feelings for me. I'm just the best of the family. But even if not, and I won't keep you from marrying another girl, or having fun with other women. You just need a helping hand who's on your side. Be my best. Or not. I'm being blunt about this. What can Liang Wenyue argue? I'll have to leave in a hurry. I told the porter to come later. Don't just let it in. From now on, my father and brother are ministers of the humorous. You have to be more careful with people. Liang Wenzi was soon forced to pay homage to Zhou Huan. Because Zhou Hua has been living in Liang's house. The so-called wedding greeting. It's just a walk from the side door to the front door. No dowry or dowries. Not many guests went. The wedding was simple and sloppy. Even the lantern red silk was only hung for one night and then dismantled. It was not long before I heard that Zhou Huan was not healthy. The side door then carried in several concubines. The courtyard of the second prince of Liang. All day long. Liang Wenzi has to prepare for the next year's examination. They had to stay in a different room every day and listen to their complaints. A total visible malaise. Liang Wenyue came to me several times. They were all blocked by the concierge. Gradually did not come. It didn't take long for the marriage to be settled. She is the legitimate daughter of the servant of the book. The wedding is set for next spring. Invitation or Liang Wenyue personally sent. He said something polite and honest about earlier. I was headstrong. Think only of yourself. I'm sorry to be so abrupt, miss. I took the invitation. And we can wipe the slate clean. Before the festival, brother returned to Beijing. Same as in previous lives. Brother, this battle played out for the next 20 years. Peace at the border. The emperor's face is very happy. There is no lack of honors. Previous life for Liang Wenzi's official career can go further. And to make me feel better in my husband's family. My brother refused the title. But he's always at the border with a tiger. Not to be feared by the gods. Now there are no worries. The elder brother handed over the tiger at ease. Got a sign here again. Sealed the Marquis of Rouen. Stay in Beijing for a family reunion. My days are completely calm. And the time for the family is like the night. was probably tortured by a few beautiful women in the family. Lethargy. Float on one's feet. The previous written exam was not too bad. But when it came time to pass, Leon often starts to wander into thoughts. Or say things that are wrong. Make the examiner black face. It was a win at the test. I want to try the son of the Leon family for myself. As a result, Leon Wincy didn't just stutter. Even in the middle of a question, and suddenly forgot. And because of nervousness, he sweated out in the April weather. He stood before the Lord in incense.
I was looking into
He looked like he'd been touched out of water. So angry that the heat blacked his face. Says he's not a good man. Since he opened with an internal examination, the only one who made it to the temple and was wrong. When everyone they obeyed because of his steps. Tripped on the threshold of the hall of Supreme Court. He passed out immediately. When I woke up, I was delirious. He said he was delirious. His wife was the lawful daughter of the Lin family. He would be a minister in the future. I got a bad feeling when I heard that. Sure enough, a few days later, Leon Wincy then mad rushed to the front of Lin Fu to see me. This is wrong, such as true you out. You tell them. You are my true wife. I'm the new class champion. I hid in the back room. Listen to the moon tell me. Make sure Leon Wincy is born again. It just wasn't the right time for him. He's been banned from taking the exam because of frustration at the temple. This life is not to enter the official career after the Leon family rushed here. I just appeared in front of Leon Wincy. He looked at me. Suddenly he started crying. If it's wrong. This is all wrong. I didn't answer. Mrs. Leon took so far. Make a respectful apology in front of me. I just watched quietly. The Leon family dragged him into the carriage. Until the carriage was unlocked. I just looked at them. I mean to say that today the palace banquet. There is no lack of distinguished visitors. If I hadn't been so late. At the moment. The two ladies should go to Hofufu soldiers' hands to get people. Since I am ill. Just keep it at home. To bring honor to the family. You have to look at the top two. Mrs. Leon answered again and again. It was not long before Leon's second son fell ill in the middle of the night. Fell into a dry well and broke his leg. I can't leave for the rest of my life. Wake up and listen to the servant. Son Leon drank a lot of wine that night. Talking about the newlywed. Wedding candles. Holding a glass of wine, I wandered into the deserted courtyard. When the servants find him. It's already too late. And why is it locked up all year round? The door suddenly opened today. No one cares about it anymore.